Yoo guys, another rush hour. Gonna be a little bit different than normally because I already pre-recorded this. I did that in the past as well. Um, I couldn't do it like playing live. I was on a phone call at the whole rush pretty much. So yeah, still actually rushed. Just did more of a chill rush. Didn't really ruin anything, so it's not that special. But just gonna fit in like a little bit of story time, just because we gotta fill some time. I can talk over all of these offenses, but most of them you already seen. If I see something interesting, sure I will mention it. So was ranked 400 here, and this clip is only about like 26 minutes. So let's see rank 400 to how far we can get. Well, probably put it in thumbnail already because whatever. But yeah. Um, so yeah, bit of story time for like some people there that don't know me. Just a bit of story time, or people that actually know me. I like when bombs explode like that. That's so satisfying. But yeah, like so people have been asking me is like, okay, so why are you in China right now? What are you studying? The kind of stuff. I'm in China for the last 3 years. I live in Shanghai. I study here. It's just a temporary thing, but it's been kind of dragged out, I guess. Simply said, like I have to publish a paper and then I can finish my thesis, but the publication is having some issues, Corona, that kind of stuff. Also, just having some issues with the school and whatnot, and that things are not going that fast as I would hope to. So yeah, most of the time when you publish a paper, you can only submit to one journal or one conference at the same time. They mostly reply in like 2 or 3 months. No, sometimes even more, 3 or 4 months. So it's a lot of waiting time. And in that waiting time, you could do something else and try to start another project and then have two papers at the same time. But I was like, man, too much effort. I really don't care that much about publishing. I really don't care to go like further into research and that kind of stuff. Like masters shouldn't be that much into research. I think it's more for like PhD, but for some reason for my school they changed it in the year that I came here that we kind of have to publish as if they're thinking with PhD people. But it's just me ranting a little bit. But yeah, so I don't care too much about the research like field. Like mostly the masters just like you tip a little bit on the research. You feel like if you really like to do it, if you really like to do it, you go in PhD, you maybe go like whatever afterwards and that kind of stuff. If you don't, you just finish your master's, then you just go to work. So in my case, I just want to finish my master's, go to work, and I'm probably gonna do nothing with research ever again after this because it's not been that great of an experience for me. Um, but yeah, so I'm just spending a lot of time on that. But I also have a lot of waiting time, and in the waiting time I actually started pushing up the YouTube channel like a lot more, because if you check like the numbers since the last 3-4 months, my channel has been going a lot better, but it's mainly because I've been putting like a lot more effort, putting a lot more time. So can't really say it's like a full-time gig for me or anything. Like you don't make full-time money out of this kind of stuff, but it's something that's pretty nice to have like as a side job to, well, to provide content. Like first of all, like if I didn't get like positive feedback like I've been getting from like some of you people, like also some of the videos that are like lesser viewed, I get like really positive feedback and that kind of stuff. So that really motivates me to just keep on like making content and that kind of stuff. I'm looking at the right screen all the time because I have myself there and then the screen that I'm recording there, and it's really weird that I keep switching. I don't know. So I should look into the camera, whatever. I'm still a noob, whatever, YouTuber thing, content creator, whatever we want to call it, right? So in the meantime, always keep farming too. This thing is like literally always farming. Like whatever I do, I'm always farming. So yeah, that's basically my lifestyle right now. Thing is, in China currently, like a lot of countries, especially in Europe, they are locked down right now. China is pretty much not. Well, the moment they get cases, they are not shy away of like immediately like full lockdowning everything again. But currently there's like barely any like cases. And most of the cases, like everything is pretty like well checked, organized, whatever you want to call it. So everything that comes in like immediately gets screened and that kind of stuff. So it's not too bad here. Like you can actually do like domestic traveling pretty easy. So I'm actually able to do some traveling. Also, like my last video I said, like I did my siege in the bar. Yes, we can go to the bars. Like pretty much everything is open. Like the last thing to be open was actually the cinema, which was really weird. Because like in a lot of places here, sure, you have to wear a mask. Like outside, people don't wear a mask. In inside the like public transport, you have to wear a mask. Um, some like some buildings, some malls also require you to wear a mask, but not that much. I was out for dinner the other time, and we were at like the walking buffet kind of thing, and you were like every time you were walking, you had to put on the mask, and then you sit down, you're eating, and you have to take off the mask, and then like when the moment you're walking, you have to put on the mask again. So that was pretty funny. Like that's to the point that I'm thinking like if you're eating and then putting like off the mask and then walking around and then grabbing the spoon that someone else just grabbed and that kind of stuff without like just cleaning your hands every time you start walking and that kind of stuff, which was not necessary and also not really possible. Like they didn't facilitate that. So like some of these things I'm like, ah, that makes sense. And then you're like, ah, that doesn't make sense. But I guess every country does that. Every country does that because in my home country in the Netherlands we have this rule right now. So the maximum amount of people that can visit someone is 3 people. So a family of 3 is allowed to visit a family of 4, but the family of 4 is not allowed to visit that same family of 3. I'm like, what? So, well, of course, they have to make like they have to cut like lines at some point and that kind of stuff. And at some point, it's also like, ah. But the thing is, like, really typical Dutch thing. I think also typical human thing is like, at some point they had like, okay, you could do events, but the maximum amount is 30, and preferably we have as least as possible. So preferably as least as possible. People are like, okay, 30 is allowed, we do 30. It's like, no, preferably as least as possible. But you said 30, right? We go 30. Yeah, we know, but preferably it's like you said 30. Okay, okay, okay. So yeah, you got a lot of like probably in all of your countries. Like if you have some funny things, some weird rules, put it in the comments. I love to read that. Like if things just don't make sense, I love to read that. It's just funny for me, like in general. It's just like yeah, we had some more rules in the Netherlands like that. Like oh, the funniest one in the Netherlands, like you can legit look it up. Um, Peeing in public is of course not allowed, but the fine for peeing in public is more expensive than having a wank in public. So if you're being caught peeing in public and you say like I was wanking, you pay less. No joke. In the Netherlands, that's the fine on wanking in public is less than peeing in public. So do with it whatever you want to do. I think my audience is old enough to understand this anyway. So yeah, most of my audience is like I've just seen the graphs. Like most of it is like 18 plus, 21 plus anyway. So should be fine. Should be fine on the top. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's just like sometimes rules don't make that much sense. Sometimes, yeah, is what it is. Is what it is. We got some vaccines coming up, so I guess things will get better in most countries soonish. Oh well. So yeah, I kind of miss that. Like normally I do a lot of traveling, like in general. Like I love to travel. I travel like a lot. Like some people were asking me, it's like I have these hats, and this one says Cape Town. This one actually is from Cape Town. I bought this one in Cape Town. The other one I mostly wear is Singapore. Also bought that one in Singapore. I was looking one for I was looking for one that says Shanghai because I live in Shanghai for like quite a while right now. Couldn't find anyone. Couldn't find any proper hats that said Shanghai. So I still have to find a hat that says Shanghai that I bought here. But yeah, like most of the time traveling is oh I'm already wait, how many minutes did I take? I took 8 minutes. Yeah, pretty much 8 minutes to go from C3 to G3. Epic. Well, it was the soft reset week, so that makes it easier. But yeah, pretty funny. But yeah, like the traveling, like normally I go like far abroad. Well, currently I'm pretty much far abroad, but pretty often I also like most of the traveling I actually did like far abroad was during like internships in during my bachelor. So the funny thing in the Netherlands is you for a lot of countries like doing internships is something you do besides your school curriculum. So it's something you do as extra, right? In the Netherlands, it's pretty common that they just want you to have work experience, so part of your study is always an internship. So depending on what kind of study you're doing, what kind of level, that kind of stuff, it's mostly somewhere between like 10% and like 25%, or even 50% if you do like the specialized version that's mostly like based on working. So my bachelor's was 4 years. I started on like a lower-ish level of bachelor's college kind of thing, and I also did like an internship. Like we also had to do internships there, quite a lot actually. And I did one internship abroad to Malta, which Malta, amazing country, man. It's a party island. It was crazy. It was super funny. Again, was also just doing an IT job there. I was making like a website, or like the a website for like the new program of their European School of English. Um, but yeah, it was pretty cool. So then when I started my bachelor, I was like, I want to go abroad for like studying again. I want to go abroad for like studying again, and that's where a lot of my traveling came from. So first 2 years I couldn't do that, and then in the third year we had like the whole bachelor was like 4 years, and then in the third year, um, we had to do like for each semester you kind of had to choose what to do. So one semester was like for sure you had to do like something that was based on your major, and then more in depth. So I was doing software engineering, so we could choose like software engineering 3, because we already had software engineering 1 and 2, it's just different languages, more in depth, the kind of stuff, or like games programming or anything that was like very far in depth. Then we had to do one choice ish, but still had to do something with your major, so you could go for like robotics or like business IT or that kind of stuff. And then we had one semester which was like a full choice. I could have gone like I could have studied like nursery on like a bachelor level for like a semester, and it would have been fine, as long as like a semester at a university like in the Netherlands or abroad. um, and then we have like as last semester we always had like an internship. So it was like internship. I know how that works. With that, you go abroad, right? With that, just like I'm out. So I actually asked them. I was like, okay, so if I do the one in depth of software engineering 3, and then afterwards for the choice one that has to be related to my major, if I do an internship, is that okay? Like, yeah, you can do an internship then, but remember you also have an internship at the end, so you already do an internship. It's like, okay, but it doesn't matter if I do two, right? I'm like, no, it's fine. What if I do it abroad? And they're like, yeah, sure, totally. That's totally fine if you do it abroad. It's like, okay. And then how about the internship, or how about the semester that is like free of choice? Could I do an internship? Yeah. So it's like, if you want to like switch that up, it's like, yeah, something like that. Like, okay. So, and what if I do it abroad? It's like, yeah, we always recommend people to go abroad. We're like, okay, sounds cool. So what most people do is they go on an internship abroad like once during their study and that kind of stuff. So I did the following, which my school agreed on at that moment, because they thought, he's never gonna do that. No, he's not. No, he's not such an idiot. He's never gonna do that. And then I did it. So I was like, okay, so if I go the second semester of the third year to Romania for half a year as my more in-depth, or like it's my choice but still related to my major, because it was an IT job, I was like, yeah, sure. And then if the semester, like the first semester of the fourth year, I go to China for an internship at a university. Well, I was pretty much more a university student there than actual internship, but that was actually better. Like, also, people, if you want to study abroad, study abroad. Just go for a semester abroad. Don't work abroad. Like, don't go for an internship abroad. Like, I recommend it to all my friends later. If you want to have a semester abroad, do a study abroad. Don't do an internship abroad, because an internship abroad, you're working like your normal, like 40-ish, 45 hours, whatever, travel time, all of that jazz, and then you still have to do stuff for school. If you're just doing a semester on school, you have way less hours, more chill. You have a lot of like international people that doing the same stuff, partying, whatever, but that kind of stuff. So I recommend people, if you want to go abroad for your school, do a study abroad. Just do a semester abroad of just whatever you're doing on your normal school, but then do that same thing abroad. It's just cool. Highly recommend to do everything. I highly recommend anyone to do that. Um, if you have the options to. But most of the time, you have to create the options, because some people were like, "Oh, it's so nice that the school gave you so much options to go abroad." I was like, "Nah, they didn't give me options. I took the options. Like they didn't give me shit options. Well, they had some like options of like, oh, you could check out this or you could check out that. I'm like, cool, checking out everything. So yeah, then I went to China for that was actually my second time to China, and then it was like, okay, so then is my final internship. So I have to do an internship, and they're like, yeah, you're not gonna do it abroad, right? I was like, well, so I did my final internship in South Africa. So that's where I got this one. I wasn't located at Cape Town. I was located at Port Elizabeth, but yeah, that's how I traveled a lot. So that's always pretty cool. But then the thing is, like, I have this discussion more with people. It's like, so if you study abroad or you do an internship abroad, are you gonna learn more than you would in your own country? And sure, depending on which country you come from, which country you go. But in most cases, for your technical side of your study, no. No, you're not gonna learn more than like if you would just stay home and just can actually focus on your study, that kind of stuff. But you're gonna study in a really different way, but you're gonna get more life skills. It sounds really stupid. It sounds really like, oh, you tell me or whatever, but you're gonna get more life skills. You gotta take care of yourself. Like, sure, if you start living by yourself in your own country, then you still can go home. It's like, hey, mom, laundry, like that kind of shit. You can't do that if I'm living in China, right? Or it's like, I don't know what to cook. Um, Mom, what you cooking? It's like still you go there or like weekends, whatnot, like that kind of stuff. Or you still have like friends around you that can help you with stuff, like, or you just at least you speak the language, you know how stuff goes, right? If you're abroad, you develop a like a specific skill set of survival. I'm not joking, man. Like things never go easy. Things never go easy. You're not used to the culture. Maybe you go to somewhere you're not used to the language. Things always go different, man. There's school systems are different, work systems are different, but I always like it's been really a struggle, but I also mostly really liked it. There was like it had a bit of both worlds, like in general. But the thing is, you're just more down to yourself. Like you gotta fix stuff by yourself. But that's also what I mostly got more social from myself, because before I went for these international like studies, internships, whatnot, I was pretty introvert, and afterwards I was like, I started drinking a bit more there, hanging out with like random people, talking to random people. For me, it's mostly like give me a few beers and just talking to people from other cultures and that kind of stuff. I love it. So that's also for me why I really like these summoners war like meetups and that kind of stuff, and then especially the ones from SWC, because people from more countries get there and that kind of stuff. So just having like a drinks with like few international people, just talking whatever. Like I'm always curious. Like I know a lot about like different cultures because I ask. I'm just like, okay, so we have this and this stupid stuff in my country. Ha, do you have same stupid stuff or do you have other stupid stuff? Let me know. And they're like, oh no, no, but we have like this, and I'm like, nah. So it's like, oh, I always love that. It's just like interacting, just seeing like what's happening somewhere else, and then you meet some other people, and then at some point, like I also like, especially with like these international studies, you develop like a friend group that at some point, I went to Thailand. I visited like a friend I met from like here in China, and at some point, I went to South Korea, and I visited a friend that I knew back from Malta, and I visited like another friend that I met in Hong Kong, and like that kind of stuff. So at some point, like you meet a lot of people. You're not always like still talking to them and that kind of stuff, but the moment you meet them again, you pick it up again. You just keep on going where you left it. So that's always pretty cool. So I really like that kind of stuff. Does it have some downsides? Yes, definitely, because you're meeting a lot of people, but you're also saying bye bye to a lot of people. So that's the sad part, and especially if you're somewhere like really short term, then it's pretty difficult. Like especially if you're somewhere that people just come for like 2 weeks. So if you're like somewhere for like I had that back in Malta pretty much. So I was there for like 20 weeks, and a lot of people were there just to study English for like a week or two. So like you're like super nice to everyone, like everyone introducing, you get close to everyone, but within a week they're leaving. It's like vacation, like just meeting like good friends on vacation, and afterwards you pretty much never speak with them again. Like happens to everyone. The only issue is you're building up that vacation like kind of relationship with people and get close to them like 10 times in a row. You get burned out from that shit, man. I'm telling you, at some point you're not nice to the new people anymore because you just hanging around. At least that's what I saw for most people. There you have a few exceptions, but most people at some point were just like, oh man, I just want to hang out with like people that are actually stable there and that kind of stuff. Which is also pretty interesting. Like I had to write like a cultural report about my internships and that kind of stuff. So I actually wrote one. They barely read it. They didn't care. But the thing is actually what's pretty interesting, and that's not that many people can tell it because not that many people did that many like studies abroad and that kind of stuff. It's really interesting to see if you go somewhere abroad, who are the people you hang around with. Really depends on like what kind of environment you're involved. But let me explain that more. So if you're somewhere with a really big group of your own people, so if I'm from the Netherlands. If I go, let's say, to Malta and we have a lot of Dutch people there, you're probably hanging around with just Dutch people, which actually happened. Then, for example, in Romania, there were no Dutch people. So the first next people you hang around with are other international students. And then when I went to China, we were there with 3 Dutch people. There were pretty much no other international students. And then you had all of the Chinese students. So then you kind of have to hang around with the Chinese students. It's not like you have to, like I don't want to, but it's pretty difficult from what I've seen. It's like if you're at a school where a lot of like international students come in, at some points these students, they had the same thing as I just explained. Like they had some international students, they got really close friends with them. Semester they leave, next semester a new group comes, they're pretty chill with them. And then they also leave, and then the third groups come and they're like, I'll just stick with the friends like that actually stay. And that happens a lot. That's really normal. But because of that, you also have like the difference in like what are the groups you hang around with. So, which is also pretty interesting. Like you have a really big group of Chinese going like abroad always to like mainly US, UK, Australia, that kind of stuff. And at some point for my supervisor group here, like we had, I think, 11 students going to UCLA, which was a pretty big group from like, I don't know how many, but we had a lot of people going to UCLA. So, and my supervisor asked him, was like, just like the end dinner of the semester, asked me, he's like, oh, you have a tip for these guys going abroad? I was like, okay, this is gonna sound really weird, but if you want to have the real, like abroad experience, you're not gonna hang around with the people sitting around you right now. And one or two were like, and most of them were like, what? What? I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm like, I'm just saying, like, if you want to have the real abroad experience, you should not hang around with your own people that much. Because you're gonna stick there, you're just gonna speak your own language, do your own culture stuff. It's easier, those people understand you more. But you're not really like, you're not going to, for them to America to be with more Chinese people, to have more Chinese culture and that kind of stuff, right? You go there because you wanna like experience abroad. You want to know how it is to live abroad. Maybe you want to live abroad in the future and that kind of stuff. So, and like one or two that was already like kind of like in that kind of mindset. They were like, yeah, I understand, and the others were like, yeah, whatever. So like I don't say you have to, not at all, but I think it's recommended if you go somewhere, it's best to actually hang around with like. Try to hang around with locals is pretty difficult most of the time, but at least try to hang around with other international people. And yeah, that's just something like also if you go like somewhere like traveling or whatnot, that kind of stuff. If you're like somewhere that's like a really big touristic place, you're probably gonna find like, especially if you're from a big country, like mostly you have like a lot of Germans. They always find each other. A lot of French, they always find each other. That kind of stuff. If you're one of those, because I know I actually have a lot of German and French viewers. If you want to go abroad, try to pretend that you're not from your own country. Like if you hear other Germans, it's so easy to just go for like, more Germans, let's hang around with them for like the whole vacation trip, right? What you want to do if you want to experience like more the abroad style, you want to like, Germans, let's walk the other way. It's not because they're Germans, it's just like, more of my kind of people, let's walk the other way. Let's just find some international people. Let's like, let's find whoever you can find, that kind of stuff. And for me, like, sure, a lot of people will not be that interested in doing it, but for me, that always gave me the best experience of being abroad, because you actually feel like being abroad. Otherwise, you just bring your own people and you're just somewhere else. but you're still with the same people, right? But that's just my take on it. Let me know in the comments, like, if you have any stories like that. I always like story times. Also, like, I think I want to do like an AMA at some point, but then I actually need people to ask me questions, so I should ask for people to ask me questions. But probably make that a separate video at some point. But let's do that at 15k. 15k subs, I'll do AMA. Yeah, let's do that. 15k subs, AMA. I'm currently at 14k, so that's pretty nice. I think I'm pretty much at the end of the video as well. I'm currently in rank 6. I'm chilling. Yeah, I think it ended here. So didn't get that many hits in the end. I actually barely looked at the video what I did for the rush, but it was just more story time than a rush hour. Got rank 6, started rank 400, did it in like 26 minutes. This was my defense. Tried out something completely new. Well, at least I never used this setup. I didn't want to rerun. Normally I rerun like the Abellio and that kind of stuff, but currently I was just trying like, let's just see if this works. Apparently people did not like to hit it, so I think I ended rank 8 in the end. I think I got hit one more time, but yep, that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know in the comments if you like these kind. So let me know in the comments if you like these kind of like story time kind of videos. Normally I do this more on stream and whatnot because it's more interacting, makes more sense, but I was like, well, I gotta talk about 25 minutes over my rush, so I might as well do this. So I'm just gonna leave it completely uncut. Maybe there's gonna be a bit of much of like the kind of shit in the video. I don't care for this one. Just story time, just whatever, just uncut. So let me know if you like this kind of videos, and see you in the next one.